The Minnesota Seaplane Pilots Association held its 2017 safety seminar in Brainerd, Minnesota at Madden's on Gull Lake. Despite the forecast of bad weather and overcast skies, there were plenty of seaplanes showing up at Madden's Beach for the 2017 Safety Seaplane Seminar. And if you got lost and didn't know where the meeting is, all you had to do is look for the copper peak on the roof, and that's the meeting place. There was a large number of speakers lined up for everybody, and every once in a while they'd take a break to get some coffee or a little snack or go visit the exhibitors in the exhibit room next door. On the left is Steve Williams from the state of Maine. He's the field director for the Seaplane Pilots Association, and next to Steve is Steve McCaughey, the SPA executive director.
Well, even when they tell you the rocks are there, I still hit them.
Steve is the president of the Minnesota Seaplane Pilots Association. He and his wife just became a couple lifetime members in the SPA.
We'll try to get started on time here this morning. We've got a very packed agenda today, and you guys probably want to hear our speakers more than you want to hear me talk. If you don't know me, my name is Steve Getter. I'm president of the Minnesota Seaplane Pilots Association. I wanted to take a couple minutes to kick off the event this morning. Welcome. We have a very exciting group of speakers lined up today to bring us a message of safety, continuous improvement, proficiency as pilots. It's a two-way street, right? For us as pilots to be proficient and to continue to learn, we have to show up. We have to be willing to hear these messages. You have taken that first step by showing up and signing up for the seminar, spending your weekend up here. It's that dedication to improvement and learning that makes us better pilots. On the other side of that road is our speakers, who have taken a lot of their time to put together presentations and are bringing us messages about safety and about flying and techniques to help us improve. So our thanks go out to all of them. As we were preparing for the seminar this year, we realized that we missed our birthday last year. How many of you have ever missed a birthday or an anniversary? Last year was the MSPA's 40th anniversary. To me, that's a huge milestone. We just realized that within the last week and a half, so I'm hoping when we get to the pig roast this fall that we'll recognize that and we'll celebrate our 40th anniversary or 41st birthday this year. So what are we up to? What have we been doing at MSPA? We've brought you this year some online access to the association, both for renewing memberships as well as signing up for the seminar. Signing up for the pig roast will also be online. So we're trying to cut down on some of the lines that we all absolutely love to stand in, and kind of coming up to 1985. The pig roast is going to be May 13th. At the Surfside Seaplane Base, so we hope to see you all there. And we also continue to work on our member assistance, working with our members for bringing seaplane bases, waterway access in Minnesota. There's a lot of behind-the-scenes work that our board members and other members are doing to ensure that we continue to enjoy the flying in Minnesota that we've enjoyed for many years.
What month is that?
May 13th passed.
Oh. I'm not sure how I did that. That would be August. Thank you. That's the first typo of the day. Oh. I want to say thank you to all of our partners and our sponsors. The logos you see up here are sponsors that support us financially, support us with advertising. A lot of the fun things that we do, like the air show we had last year, the movies that we're showing last night, some of the speakers that we bring in, it's the contributions from these groups that allow us to be able to do those things. So as you see these names up here, as you see the vendors that we have next door, please support them. So where do we go from here? 2018 and beyond, May 18th through the 20th, 2018, those dates are right. At Madden's Resort, we've already signed the contract with Madden's, will be next year's safety seminar. If you like the room that you have this year, you can book the room that you have this year on your way out when you check out. We're also working to continue our efforts and grow our efforts in educating pilots, as well as bringing new pilots into the group of seaplane aviators that we have here. We're trying to reach out to universities, other schools, so that we can plant the seed of excitement about seaplane flying with pilots as they're younger. So hopefully, as they grow through their aviation career and start to get ratings, they realize that seaplane flying is not something that is just an elite group of people. It's something that we all have access to. It's exciting, it's fun, and continue to grow the ranks of seaplane pilots. So, with that, Mary, I think you have a box. We have a drawing for 2 free nights at Madden's. Did we shake them up? Yeah. Okay, I'm going to reach in there. I put my name in a couple times. Kelly Burrows. Is Kelly present? She's your student. Well, must be present to win. Going once, going twice. We're going in the box again. Gary Bagling. Gary's here. Wonderful. A couple other housekeeping notes, and I will turn you over to Steve. A few of our seminars qualify for Wings credit. Mary is going to have the Wings sign-up sheets in the back of the room. You have to sign up for each one of those seminars individually. We will try to highlight which of the seminars are qualified for the Wings credit. Please write legibly. If you write legibly, Mary is going to give you Wings credit. If you don't write legibly, we're going to give the sheet to Kevin Morris, who is then going from the FAA, who will then look up your aviation record, and we'll see where he goes from there. If you are a current MSPA member, I see many of you have the hats we've been doing for the last few years. The hats, check in, make sure that your MSPA membership is up to date. If you're not a member, we'd love to have you as a member. And you'll get the commemorative hat that says 2017 on the back. We're going to have one more drawing tonight. Whip Air has donated a Lightspeed headset. You get a red ticket when you check in for the conference at the MSPA booth. Keep half of that ticket. You must be present to win at the banquet tonight. The last thing, we'll have a silent auction. Many of our vendors have donated some items for a silent auction. That's being set up in the room next door. So during the lunchtime, during our social hour tonight, take a look at what we have for the silent auction and bid. Hopefully you enjoy those things. So with that, we're 1 minute ahead, which usually you give me a microphone and it takes a little bit longer to get through things. Our first speaker today is Steve McCaughey. Steve is the Executive Director of the Seaplane Pilots Association. Steve comes from a highly diverse background in aviation. He's known for an unquenchable thirst for everything related to flying. His aviation adventures and experiences have taken him from Alaska to Australia and everywhere in between. Steve served as a U.S. Air Force Special Operations Command, working the amazing C-130 gunship, and has spent the majority of his flying time in strange birds. And when you talk to Steve, the number of airplanes that he has flown is amazing. Tailwheel, seaplanes, aerobatic aircraft, and warbirds. I think Steve was even married on an albatross. Since arriving at the Seaplane Pilots Association in 2011, he's been instrumental in creating the Seaplane Rating Scholarship Program and has worked tirelessly advocating for water flying community with organizations such as the Recreational Aviation Foundation and the Aircraft Owners and Pilots Association. They're focusing on saving seaplane access in the state of New Mexico, trying to open the waters of Colorado. They actually have created an app that's free to all the SPA members, where you can actually go in. It's a water landing directory. You can look at various lakes. Where'd I go? So Steve just recently signed a 50-year lease to build the first permanent headquarters for the Seaplane Pilots Association at the Winter Haven Airport in Florida. So with that, Steve, welcome.
And now I have to live up to that? Thank you. And by the way, if your name is Steve, I would encourage you to apply for a leadership position in the seaplane world, because Steve here and myself and Steve Williams, one of our board members, was in the front row, and seems to be kind of a popular name for that. So yeah, we're going to try to hook my computer up now. So thank you guys for being here. We have pilots that were out drinking last night here on an early Saturday morning. Anytime you can do that, hopefully you have something worthy to say. So hopefully we can get my computer up here. So it's awesome to be back here. I am so excited. This is one of my favorite events of the year. I love coming up to Minnesota. I can tell you I have not done near as much flying around this beautiful state as I would like to. I've had the opportunity to do some flying with a 180 around the state a little bit, but not nearly as much as I know there is to be done, and I look forward to it. I have got some volunteers running around. I think Steve has a form. We're going to take care of some business first. I'm going to make you work today. So there's a form coming around. There's two sides to the form. The first side is a quiz, or the first half of it. The second portion of it are some questions to help us do our job better. So if anyone can answer the first side without using a digital device, and I stress without using a digital device, if you can name the top 10 states for seaplane pilots, population, in the United States in order, except for Mr. Baker back there. If you can name the top 10 states in rank for the population of seaplane pilots, I will send you one of these wonderful jackets. Which, by the way, Steve and Kirsty are going to receive at the end of the show also, because they're becoming lifetime members at the show. And so with your lifetime membership, you get a jacket. So with that, I can take this off and stop my plug. The other side of that form, or the bottom half of it, there's some questions. Basically, I'd like to know what you think the biggest threats are to seaplanes in your world, what we can do better for you, and anything you want to tell us. I'm going to touch on one subject today, mostly, more than anything else. We're going to hear from speakers today on invasive species, which are one of our biggest threats. But Steve asked me to talk about some of the challenges and things that are facing seaplane pilots in our community. And there's one topic in particular that I wanted to focus on. So, before anything else, I have to say, regardless if we fly seaplanes for work or play, we really get to enjoy some pretty amazing experiences. And please never lose sight of that. There's some commercial pilots out there. It's easy to get desensitized to it, but I never want to have you lose your sense of awe and wonderment for this amazing activity that we get to engage in. It really is, it's been the adventure of a lifetime for myself, and I'm sure you all, your fondest memories, many of which were probably involved in seaplanes. And as Steve mentioned, me getting married in a Grumman Albatross in flight. And then secondarily, before we get started, I want to stress, I work for you at the Seaplane Pilots Association, and I'm always ready to learn from you. I am a student. You are my teachers. I just happen to be a repository of a bunch of information that I get to re-disseminate and try to influence people with. But I never want you to lose sight of the fact that I work for you and I'm here to learn from you. And to keep my ego in check, I thought I'd include a self-portrait. So what are our challenges? To me, our greatest single challenge is our extinction. And we talk about this, but I don't think we really put it into the proper perspective in a way that hits home. And so I just took a little bit of time to collect some numbers that may help bring this to light a little bit. So we as seaplane pilots are a pretty rare breed. How rare are we? 1 in 35,000 Americans is an active seaplane pilot versus 1 in 583 are a land pilot. That's a pretty striking number. So you guys are a pretty unique fraternity here. And we need to change that somewhat. In Minnesota, just to put this in perspective, there are 809,000 registered boats in this state alone. That's 7% of the U.S. total. 1 in 2.8 households in Minnesota have a registered boat attached to them. The boating spend, the impact on the economy here in Minnesota alone, $650 million, $651 million. There are 13,000 pilots in this state. So you look at 809,000 registered boats and 13,000 pilots, that number amazes me. We all love what we do so much. We enjoy it, the passion that we have for it. What I've witnessed in the last 20 to 30 years is a massive, massive increase in the boating industry. We've watched the popularity of the Harley Davidson come back. And it seemed like every one of my neighbors had 1 or 2 Harley Davidsons in their garage. We've seen an explosion in the powered RV camper market. Why haven't we seen a similar rise in the pilot market? You know, as far as I'm concerned, a powered RV or a bass boat costs just as much to own and operate as some of our seaplanes. And I can use my airplane in particular as an example. There's only 1,556 seaplane pilots in this state. 809,000 registered boats and 1,556 seaplane pilots. That's a pretty striking number when you're in my seat trying to do advocacy, when you're trying to convince government agencies to keep water open, when you're trying to negotiate insurance rates. It makes things very difficult. So how rare are we? Let's take a look at it again. I love this picture. This is a very real example. I looked specifically for a photo with a measured audience of 70,000 people. So statistically, in that stadium, there are 70,000 people. There statistically are 2 seaplane pilots in that stadium. That's, to me, just absolutely unbearably incorrect, you know. And I apologize, you know, I usually don't like throwing out numbers. I like doing a really lively, engaging presentation, but this is something I really think that needs to be set home with our population of pilots. Where does Minnesota stand in the National Seaplane Pilot Ranking? I can't do this until you guys fill out that paper. How many people have done that? Please, I'm going to take 30 seconds, fill that out. So, where does it stand?
Well, you want me to read what we did?
No, where does it stand?
Well, number 1.
Okay, number of rated seaplane pilots. See, now I'm going to have to invalidate the jacket thing unless we collect all those pieces of paper. I would really like to see what your guys' thoughts are, though. Number one, I hate to say it, I know I'm going to catch flack for it. No.
Alaska.
Florida. Which helps justify why we're building our world headquarters there. We have year-round flying, we have total access to water, and we have a lot of water. And we have a tremendous amount of training operations and everything else. It's just a natural scenario. Number two. Okay, I hear it out there, Alaska. Really surprising that Florida beats Alaska. And I see people writing down now, thinking they're going to get the jacket. Number three, California. Really surprising number to me. This really comes from, I think, the population density. It's just a matter of the overall population. The majority of these pilots are not active as seaplane pilots, but it's just a sheer numbers thing. People that have done ratings that may or may not actually use them. As someone who lived in California for 12 years, I can tell you there's great flying in California, some amazing mountain flying in the water, and a lot of opportunities. And I think it's one of the states that is not appreciated enough for its contribution to seaplane history. There's a tremendous amount of seaplane history and legacy in California. Washington, number 4. I think some of you guys might be surprised right now because you haven't seen Minnesota up there. We have a very passionate group of pilots in Washington. Texas, again, a total sleeper up here. I think out of all the states in the Union, that state has the greatest potential for the growth of the seaplane community. Because of population density, they have a very high population. It's a very affluent population. They have a state law that protects access to water. All the water is open to seaplanes by state law. And we're starting to see more activity there. There is water there, even amongst their droughts. And they have a lot of open areas as well, undeveloped areas. So I think it's a state that has a lot of potential that's untapped. And then finally, Minnesota. 1,556 seaplane pilots. Just going down real quick, Michigan, kind of a surprise to me. New York, very interesting. We have a lot of advocacy issues in New York. We've lost some water in New York with the Adirondack parks, but still a lot of great flying there. This one is just bizarre. So, anyone, how many members do we have in here? Of SPA? Come on, let me know. Okay, have you been following anything in the magazine of what we've been doing? Okay, there had never been legal seaplane flying in Colorado in my lifetime. They're very disappointed because this weekend they're having their second seaplane splash-in in Colorado, and I was supposed to be there. And I said, I can't go because I've already been scheduled to speak in Minnesota. So we've been fighting for 3 years. AOPA and Mark and his crowd have been very helpful in our fight. They've been great partners in it. We do have 2 lakes open right now. We do have a registered seaplane base in the state, a registered seaplane base. But look, they're number 9 in the country. It's just amazing. And that's why we've given such a hard fight in Colorado. There is a lot of great water there. We got a grant and we documented 460 lakes and we collected an amazing amount of data on those 460 lakes, and we really prioritized which lakes we're going to go after first. There's a lot of great water there. This number is because, again, they have an affluent, very high population density where they do have population density mostly in the Denver metro area. And those guys are typically outdoor oriented and they go get seaplane ratings. And then lastly, again, the real sleeper, Arizona. So it's amazing that you're not seeing North Carolina, Louisiana, other states that we would potentially, Maine, associate with seaplane flying, not in the top 10. So again, I don't normally go into a lot of numbers, but I want to bring some of these things home. I want these realities to hit you. So we have 71% of our seaplane pilots reside in the top 10 states. So as you can imagine, I'm focusing a lot of my activity and a lot of our efforts in those top 10 states because that's where we can get the greatest reward. But here's what we're up against, and this is pretty daunting. There are 11,870,000 registered boats in the United States. The total boat spending impact was, this is unbelievable, $121 billion last year. So I, again, want to bring home what a small user group is. And the reason I'm doing this is to really stress the value of your membership in the Seaplane Pilots Association, in the Minnesota Seaplane Pilots Association, in AOPA, and your other advocacy organizations. We need your membership because that's what we're up against when we're lobbying to keep waterways open and to have legislation passed that is seaplane friendly. Almost 12 million registered boats, 26,000 licenses, seaplane licenses in the country, but we estimate that only 8,000 to 10,000 are active. So that puts a pretty big stress on this. But I'm very happy because this morning I woke up and there was a beaver outside my window. And if I wouldn't have been rushing to finish this presentation and get going, I would have been climbing in it to try to see if I could hotwire it to go fly. But we have approximately 200 seaplane pilots here as of last night. We had over 20 seaplanes on the shoreline. So thank you. You guys are the ones making a difference. You're exercising your passion, you're putting it into action, and you're taking your time to engage in activities like this. And for those of us that do this for a living and even did it before it was a living for us with the passion that we do, you're the ones that make a difference. You're the ones keeping this activity alive. And we all want to do this. So we have approximately 350 million Americans right now, 590,000 or so pilots in the United States. And again, I'm repeating these numbers because I want them to stick in your head. 26,000 seaplane pilots, less than 10,000 active. And again, 1 in 35,000 Americans are an active seaplane pilot. That's a striking number. So going to what I was talking about, when we have so few seaplane pilots, it means that it's absolutely critical for as many that we have as many members as possible. The more members we have, the more critical mass, the more people I can say we represent, the easier it is for us to protect water access. And when you're going up against that kind of numbers in a lobbying effort, or when you're trying to stress the importance of maintaining this waterway open, we have to demonstrate that we represent more numbers of people. Register as many seaplane bases as you can. And we're going to take some issues with some of the things we heard last night about some of the regulations with registering seaplane bases here in Minnesota. But the more people that we have engaged in this activity, we can reduce your insurance rates. I can tell you right now, this is a very good time to buy a seaplane. Insurance rates are at a historic low. They're artificially low, not really being maintained at the level they are right now. It's a good time to buy an airplane and insure it. And we need to ensure the future of this, that this goes on going forward. It's critical, and it was great to hear Steve talking about MSPA's efforts to bring more young pilots on board because it's something I'm extremely passionate about. Right now, the international market has surpassed the U.S. float sales dollars. That's kind of a scary precipice to cross. And we're going to see this in other products in the United States with China coming on board. That means that the priority for the float manufacturers may not be for your market. You might, if they're driving the market for larger floats and you need a smaller set of floats, it might not be economically feasible for them to make those smaller floats. You might be further back in the lineup. And I know, the manufacturers don't want to do that, but there are economic considerations that they have to deal with. They have to maintain the viability of their companies. So this is a tipping point when we get to that point. Again, the importance of grooming new young people, bringing more seaplane pilots into the marketplace, getting more people to buy seaplanes. If we stop buying Cessna single-engine airplanes like the Boss 182, thankfully the Boss 182 is out there. Whip Air is doing a great service with that. It's an amazing airplane. If we don't buy enough of them, they're going to stop making it, and Cessna's going to stop making an airplane that we can convert to a float plane. You have to think about these realities. So it's really important that we foster this next generation. The average age of a U.S. pilot is over 60 years old. That is a horrific number. Horrific. 84% of our members are over 50, and I just became part of the problem in January. That's really a scary number to someone in my position. It should be a scary number for you. Please do not fly with your right seat empty. Find someone that will appreciate it and put them in that seat and get them hooked on the same thing that we enjoy. It's actually in your best interest to do so. This means that unless we have a strong organization promoting the next generation, that the seaplane pilot numbers are going to shrink, and they're going to do that very quickly. When we're looking at the projections of the Seaplane Pilots Association, my aspirations are to see 15,000 members. And everyone thinks that is completely unreasonable, and I like being unreasonable. I set very high goals. I can remember when Mike Volk was the executive director, and I was working on the magazine, selling ads at the time, and I would have conversations with him. 8,400 members is not enough. You have to do better than that. You have to get to 10,000 and look beyond. Well, when I came on board, we were at 5,000. We have to grow this organization. We have to grow this community. When we have fewer seaplane pilots, it means insurance rates are going to go up. If they're going to insure this activity in our aircraft, and there's a smaller pool that they're going after, the loss rates affect our premiums greater. So your insurance rates are going to go up. That starts the death spiral to fewer seaplanes. It just continues the cycle. There's less availability of new floats, as we've talked about. The manufacturers are going to go where the market is. And we have less advocacy muscle to keep the waters open. So this is very real. And it's, again, kind of funny because I love doing very positive, very uplifting talks. And this is some stark reality stuff. And I hate to start the morning like that, and I promise I'll try to finish it on a brighter note. But what are we doing about it? First off, we're aggressively working with flight schools to attract new customers. We want to drive more people into the flight school doors. Right now, we're forming focus groups. And one of the focus groups is a flight training focus group where we're having the flight schools tell us and tell each other what their challenges are, how they're going to overcome it, and how we can help drive more people in their doors. One of the first things I did when I came on board, I created a seaplane rating scholarship program. We've awarded 36 fully paid zero-cost seaplane ratings to young career track pilots. I just awarded one 2 weeks ago in Alaska, and just got a phone call. There's a young man that Whip Air is working with. They're going to provide him with a set of floats to fly around the country, Kyle, and he's starting his seaplane training at Kenmore Air Harbor on one of our scholarships. I had a wonderful young lady, Brooke Roman, that we awarded one of our first scholarships to. She's up in Talkeetna, Alaska, flying for Don Lee. She has now trained over 80 pilots to become seaplane pilots as a result of receiving our scholarship. She's, said it completely changed the trajectory of my career. You changed my life. She was going in the airline track, and now she's living in Talkeetna and training seaplane pilots. That's the greatest success story I could ever hope for, and I'm so proud of it. And every time I give one of these scholarships, it just rips me up, because I wish that opportunity would have been available for me. I started chasing airplanes when I was 10 years old. And I worked at a pet store cleaning dog cages 20 hours a week while I was going to high school, making $2.35 an hour so I could afford 1 hour of flight training. That was my path. My parents did not help me. They did not support it. All my mom said is, when are you going to stop flying those dangerous old airplanes? And then I got married in one. Needless to say, she didn't come to the wedding. What's really amazing is I'm still married today, even though I was married in one. And my wife has been unbelievably supportive, and I wish she could have been here. But we're also partnering with colleges that have professional pilot programs. Jake here has been a real godsend to me. He's my current intern. We formed an intern program with Polk State College that has a professional pilot program. And every semester we're getting an intern that gives us 250 hours of labor. And at the end of, they get college credit, they get a grade from me. They give me vital labor to do projects. And Jake is a really sharp one in particular. He was almost finishing a degree in neuropsychology. This kid is really, really sharp. And now he's changed career paths to be in aviation. I'm going to try to hire this young man as another full-time employee, and I have to find the funding because this kid is really, really sharp. But we're also working with the college to develop an accredited Seaplanes 101 class program and a Seaplanes 201 program. So we're going to use Polk State College as a test bed. We're going to get an accredited Seaplanes 101 and 201 program. They're going to have a semester of each. And then once we get this accredited and we prove it out, we can take it to other aviation colleges around the country. What these kids are telling us is here they're career track young pilots. They have never had a discussion about seaplanes up to this point in their college education. They're getting a college education geared towards being a professional pilot. And in their exposure, in their collegiate programs, they have zero discussion of seaplanes. We're going to change that. That's how we're going to get more young people. We have to go to the source. And we have to go to the source of the people that are taking action on this. These kids are actively engaged in chasing this career path. Those are our greatest chances of success. Very happy with that program. We have other major threats other than this extinction and seaplane pilot issue. I don't want you to think we're not thinking about other things. Invasive species, as we're going to hear later today, are a major issue. They're a major issue here in Minnesota. We're working with MSPA. We're working with other states around the country to address this. We've created videos with the help of AOPA. We did a wonderful self-certification video talking about how you can self-certify and how you can learn how to inspect your airplane for invasive species. We're combating the public's and the policymakers' perceptions that seaplanes represent a threat to the public. And I really hear this, way too often. Seaplanes must not be allowed to use this water because they are unsafe. And they cannot operate in the same waterways as boaters do because it just doesn't work. And I was like, well, where's your data on that? How can you demonstrate that to me? Chalks Airlines, the longest continuous operating airline in history, operated from 1927 to 2005 in one of the most congested waterways in the world, Government Cut in Miami. Cruise ships, military ships, tankers, every Yahoo and a cigarette boat you could ever imagine every yacht owner that has money that doesn't have a boating license, every PWC in a very narrow waterway. Chalks operated that entire time, never came in contact with the boat. They're the safest airline in history. I don't think it'll ever be surpassed. 1927 to 2005, they never had a passenger fatality until the very last one that put them out of business. Their first passenger fatalities put them out of business. So seaplanes are safe. We need to demonstrate that. We need to have the facts. There's perceptions about we pollute the environment. That's one of the things we had in New Mexico. We can't allow seaplanes in our waterways because you're going to contaminate the water. Well, the guy that was making that claim just happened to approve half a dozen very large marinas on the lake in question, and they had a large rental fleet, and they were doing in-water high-frequency refuelings. We were estimating 1,000 operations in the state a year. Let's back that up with data. Let's take a look at things realistically. Let's not make assumptions. And there's, of course, the noise issue, which, again, we can address. So what are we doing to address these? We're working with state and federal controlling agencies to educate them and our members on the best practices to reduce the spread of invasives. Again, this will be a never-ending project for us. Invasives are not going away, and they're one of our uglier realities going forward. It's becoming increasing. It seems like every week I get another call. Montana right now is recently infected. They're looking at water closures in Montana now. That's going to be an area of a lot of activity for us coming up. One of the things that I'm very passionate about is compiling extremely detailed safety numbers and data, if you didn't see with those voting numbers. I love data, especially when data supports my argument. And thankfully, when it comes to safety, the data overwhelmingly supports our argument. So when we go to public policymakers, I bring data and say, you are bound to pass policy based on data, not assumptions. And by the way, I have the data. And here it is. And I'm going to bind you to doing this. And I'm going to give you some examples of that. And then again, we're doing the same with pollution and environmental impact. We need to fund some more studies on what our real impacts are, but we know that seaplanes don't discharge things into the water for the most part. So here's data. Here's that data I love. In 2015, there were 18 boating accident-related deaths in Minnesota. So if anyone that came to me and said, you can't operate seaplanes in the state of Minnesota because they're unsafe, I would say, well, it just so happens that your boating accident rate is over 300% higher than our national fatality rate in the country with seaplanes. So you can't discriminate against us in closed water because we're unsafe. Because you have a risk tolerance that says that you accept this. And if you accept this, you can't discriminate us when we can prove that we operate at a lower death rate, a lower accident rate. There were 65 injuries, 87 deaths. And the top accident type was collision with another recreational vehicle, i.e. boat or PWC. So, we know you guys are number 7. We know Florida is number 1 in number of seaplane pilots, and I just, just to make you feel better, we're also number 1 in boating accident-related deaths. Florida is a great example for us to use because we have the largest boating population in the country, we have the largest seaplane pilot population in the country, and we have very little regulation on seaplanes. So when we're looking to prove our case to other states as far as our accident statistics and the data, we don't have restricted access and we have a lot of data. So the data very much goes in our favor, and I can tell you in all 50 states, it's very rare to find a state in the United States that does not have a higher annual death rate due to boating than our total U.S. number. So I love data. Here's what my intern does. This is a geo map of every seaplane pilot in the country, in the lower 48. Where it's black, it's because the density is so high. And where you see no dots, there's generally no water there or no people there. And here's what Minnesota looks like, and you can see the concentration with Minneapolis there. All of this data helps us engage in advocacy. And I have to tell you, this is me beginning this process for the organization. The king of data is AOPA. Mark's team has been an unbelievable resource for us. And if there's one organization that has compiled more data on aviation, AOPA is the king of the hill. And I'm so thankful to Mark for what his team is doing in that regard. So, I gotta watch time. I've got not much right now, but I do want to show you some of the things that we're doing. Has anyone seen the boating compatibility video that we did? Are you familiar with it? Are you familiar with how we're educating the public and these policymakers? I'm going to show this. We've actually got a couple of videos at the end here that kind of lightens things up at the end, but it also shows you how we're engaging in this advocacy. So hopefully we can get it played here.
Hello, I'm Steve McCaughey, the Executive Director of the Seaplane Pilots Association. In this short video, we'd like to take a look at the compatibility between boats and seaplanes.
Kenmore Air Harbor and Seattle Seaplanes are the two operators on Lake Union, and together we account for over 33,000 operations on the lake annually, an operation being defined as a single takeoff or landing. And in that congested lake, with all that boat traffic, there's never been any kind of issue, any kind of problem with any boat in all the years we've been operating down there.
So an important consideration when we're talking about the compatibility of boats and seaplanes is the fact that in most states, boaters aren't required to have licenses. In contrast, seaplane pilots usually hold more than one pilot license, each of which takes a considerable amount of training, investment of time and energy, and they must be certified by the Federal Aviation Administration to operate these aircraft. All of this adds up to making them a highly responsible, safe, and conscientious user group.
No, I haven't. I actually was watching them when I was coming out of the harbor, and I thought it was pretty cool.
Those guys, I mean, they do a real good job. I felt really safe around them.
But they're always trying to do the right thing, and they're watching out for you more than anybody else is on this lake. The seaplane pilots will watch you better than anybody because there's so many of them. They ask about the seaplanes and if there's ever been any incidents, and I tell them no, I've never heard of any incident in all these years. The seaplane pilots know exactly what they need to do, where they need to go.
In my experience, it's actually worked out really well. The pilots that are flying out of here for Kenmore Air and a couple other airlines or float planes here, and we have private pilots that live on the lake as well, do a really good job of being able to land and take off around the activity that happens on the lake. We've even been in some of the Coast Guard auxiliary classes talking about local laws, rules, and ordinances surrounding boating in the area as well. So it's a great organization.
The interaction between boats and seaplanes is an issue of concern, particularly in heavily traveled areas like Lake Union. And we want to make sure that our boaters understand that as the stand-on vessels, they should maintain course and speed, and the aircraft will adjust to whatever their course and speed is.
when you're in the air, you can follow their wakes, you can see which direction they're moving, you can pick up on what their speed is, what their course is, and you always assume that nobody sees you coming. You make very little noise when you're landing, and so people don't hear you coming, and they don't have any reason to be looking up. There's not a lot of seaplane traffic on this lake. Some days we might get 6 landings. You might go a week without having a single landing. So people don't have a tendency to be looking for airplanes when they're boating, and since they can't hear you over their own engine, they don't have any reason to be looking for you. So you always assume that they're not aware you're coming, and you have to be the one ready to take proactive measures.
New boaters really don't understand the action or the flight patterns of the planes. The pilots do a great job picking a landing zone as long as the vessel maintains its course and speed, and even to some degree if it's drifting and it doesn't change its action at the last minute. The pilots do a really good job of navigating around them.
Seaplane pilots get a wonderful perspective of the water surface from the air. We can read the boating activity and the surface conditions. If we don't like what we see, we can always do a go-around or wait for the conditions to improve.
So if you get down there and there's a paddleboard or a kayaker that you didn't see, then you just make the decision to go around and try again, pick a better line next time.
If you're coming in to land at Lake Union, you get a good assessment of what's on the lake, and generally you're picking a path where you don't set up a converging course with anybody. You always make sure that whatever path you pick for your landing, that vessel, that boat, is moving away from you and you're moving away from it as you go through your landing run. You never do it the other way around where that gap is closing. And that's one of the first rules to maintain safety on the lake.
Seaplanes and boats have coexisted on places like Lake Union for decades and decades, and it works. And as long as it continues working the same way it has forever, I think we're good to go.
So hopefully we've shed some light on seaplane and boating compatibility issues. If you have any further questions, please contact us at the Seaplane Pilots Association.
So there's an example of what we're doing with your membership dollars. We can touch a lot of people that way and get that out in social media. We can get it on YouTube, it's on our website. We can send these discs to decision makers and policy makers and let them know what they're assuming. They already think, they have come to a conclusion that seaplanes are unsafe and we can't operate around boats. This helps dispel that. And furthermore, largely it's not us telling them that. We try to get other law enforcement officials, the general public, and other people saying that in the videos. So we don't want it to be coming just from us as the paid advocates trying to, convince them of this. So if I can take we'll show one more fun video to close it out. I'll be here all weekend. Please fill these sheets out. Tell me what we can do better for you, how we're doing for you, and what I need to know to do my job to represent you guys. And it's an honor to be in this position. And I thank you for all of you that support us. This next video is going to be one that we just completed just before Sun and Fun down in Florida. We are doing an annual member trip that we just started doing last year. We took 30 members to Lake Como, Italy to fly seaplanes last year. I thought we would be lucky to have 10 to 12 members join us on such a grand trip. I announced a year in 2015 that we were going to start an annual trip to give opportunities to people to go have fun doing adventures in seaplanes. I thought we'd be lucky to have 10 to 12 people. We ended up having 30 people on our first trip. We basically had complete control of the Lake Como fleet, which they have a very diverse fleet of aircraft. They have a Super Cub, a couple 172s, 206, Bird Dog on floats. We flew 80 hours in 5 days on their fleet and went out to lunch flyouts on the lake, flying over the Swiss Alps. We're going to do a trip like that every year to really ignite the passion in our members. This year we're going to be in Tavares, Florida. We're going to alternate between an international destination and a U.S. destination every year. We've got a great lineup planned for Barry's. Whip Air is going to be very much engaged in it with us. We're going to have at least 7 different kinds of aircraft that you can fly. 2 multi-engine airplanes. You can do your multi-engine seaplane rating. We're going to do backstage underground tours of Disney, all daily lunch flyouts, just all kinds of stuff. So if you're interested, again, please come see me on that. And just to give you a little idea of what we have to offer on that, I'm going to shut down so we can show this video, but I wanted to give Mary Hutcherson some credit here. We've grown our field director network. We're doing monthly video conferences and training with our field directors, and we're increasing that to 5 representatives per state across the country. And we also have a program that needs more attention. Right now, we need to get more people signed up for it, but we're going to replicate the AOPA ASN network with lakes and have representatives that live on a lake that can keep their ear to the ground, keep us informed of what's going on, if there's any rumblings, be our first line of defense, and also make sure that the water way info and the water landing directory app is up to date. Thank you guys for your membership. Thanks, Steve, for allowing me to go a little over and share this with you. And please, come engage with me, talk to me, tell me what we need to be doing for you. And thanks for taking the time out of your weekend to be here. Fine.
The keynote speaker for Saturday night is a seaplane owner and president of AOPA, Mark Baker. Seaplane Pilots Association, protecting and promoting water flying.
Greenville Fly-In, also known as the Greenville International Seaplane Fly-In because of the number of people that attend from Canada, is the largest gathering of seaplanes anywhere in the United States for a single weekend event. Because of the enthusiasm and the location, the beauty of Maine and those types of things, it becomes a very popular event for seaplane pilots and wheelplane pilots to attend.
From a new pilot standpoint, it was really a great time going there, seeing the skill of the other pilot. As a new pilot, you're kind of high on life, but when you see the veteran pilots flying, you realize you got some time left to get up to that level.
Greenville Fly-In is a gathering of local pilots as well as pilots from all over the country. Most pilots will look ahead and plan on gathering at the Greenville Fly-In. It's centered around seaplane pilots, naturally, because of the location there at the Moosehead Lake. But also wheelplane pilots are welcome to come and join in the activities and the fun. So it's a gathering of all types of aircraft, but in particular, the seaplane pilots, they're the center of attraction.
Typically, people think of touring Maine in a car or a boat, but seaplane offers a broader overview of everything, and it's a much better way to see an area that you literally cannot see from the ground.
Most of the activities take place down at the Cove, right downtown Greenville, Maine.
Greenville's a beautiful area anyway. It's at the head of Moosehead Lake. It's surrounded by a fairly mountainous terrain. It's one of the most beautiful places here in the state of Maine. It's kind of got an outpost feel to it, and then there are shops and whatnot and restaurants around town that really give it a small town feel. It's an excellent place to visit. I haven't been a pilot for very long, about a year now, but I've met some great people along the way, and it was surprising to me that everyone I've met along the way in my pilot training was at the Greenville Fly-In. So it's really neat to go there and see everyone that you've worked with along the way and getting your pilot's license, and all of them just kind of really having a good time, relaxed in a laid-back atmosphere. It was just so much fun. The camaraderie, the friendships that developed over there, just an amazing experience.
There are seaplane rides that are offered at Greenville. You can take a complete tour. It takes about an hour to go around the entire lake. The lake is 40 miles long. Mount Kineo is about halfway up. It's a spectacular view. One of the fun events that takes place during the fly-in is the water bombing contest. They're given 2 grapefruit. There is a target placed on the lake somewhere in front of the crowd in an area that the judges can use to judge distance and so on.
The short takeoff and landing was a lot of fun. The power of the airplane.
It's a simple contest where it's a head-to-head single elimination. First one off the water takes the next round and goes all the way through until the final event where the first one off the water is the winner. The second one behind him would be the second place. So it's once again, it's just a head-to-head competition based upon category of aircraft, and it's really exciting. The crowd really gets into it. There's a bit of a knoll, that's kind of a grassed area. Many people bring chairs for the day and a little picnic lunch, although there is concessions available. There is an announcer that will keep them pretty much in tune with what's going on a hourly basis, what's coming up next for competitions, the results of a previous competition, things like that. There's plenty of room for campers and camping at the airport in Greenville. During the weekend event, people are welcome to come, bring their tents, bring their campers. You're camping right with all the pilots that bring their small tents and pitch them underneath the wing. One of the unique aspects of the Greenville Fly-In is that it's such a family and spectator-oriented event. All people are welcome to come. I don't know a young person out there that doesn't always look up in the sky when they see an airplane go. Now you've got seaplanes, you've got the water in front of you, you've got airplanes coming and going almost minute by minute. It cannot be beat for a fun family day in Maine.
The pilot community is a somewhat small community, but it's an open community. There were a lot of, probably 5,000 or 6,000 people there. It was just amazing to see that kind of event in Greenville, Maine. But I would encourage anyone, pilots and non-pilots alike, that it's a great time.
You want to go in the pilot seat? Okay, we're going to work that out for you. And it makes you go up and down. So you pull back and you go up, you push forward and you go down.
Like this?
Like that. Okay, so what happens if you go like this?
You drive it.
You turn. And you know why?